Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Briceno, registered dietitian with the Terrebonne General Healthy Lifestyle Center. Today we're going to talk about mindfulness or mindful eating and volume eating or volumetrics. Mindfulness is just a way of getting back to being more conscious, being more conscious of what we're eating, the way that our senses pick up food. A lot of times when we actually go to eat, we eat so quickly because of time frames that we don't even register what it tasted like or what it looked like, what it smelled like, the texture of the foods. Just more aware of what we're eating and how it feels in our body when we're eating it. Mindfulness is also a way to reduce the amount of food that you're eating without having to track calories or measure things or anything like that. So, mindfulness is going to be, of course, becoming aware of the bites you're eating. Another way that we can practice mindfulness is to put the utensil down in between bites. That does a couple of things. It forces us to think about what we're doing, to slow down the chewing or think about the chewing of our food. It also helps us to have the ability to tell our brain that we're full. So a lot of times we eat pretty quickly, and it takes roughly 20 minutes for our stomach to tell our brain that we're full. So if we eat within 10 minutes because we have a short lunch, then we overeat by the time our stomach tells us, hey, stop eating. And that's when we all have to say, ooh, I need my stretchy pants. So we want to avoid that at all costs. So on top of using the utensil or putting it down between meals, you can also use the opposite hand. So that will slow you down for sure, how quickly you eat. And then, of course, drinking water in between bites. You can also use a smaller plate. So a 9-inch plate prevents you from putting too much food on your plate. And that way you have to make that conscious decision or that mindful decision if you want to actually get up and have a second portion. So those are some things that we can do in order to kind of be aware of our bodies. As children, we know when we're full and we stop eating, but over time and sometimes the way that we're raised, we're taught to clean our plate or be in the clean plate club, and we completely disregard all of the things that we're inclined to feel. So we want to make sure that we're listening to our bodies more. With volume eating or volumetrics, it is a way of plating your food and your snacks in order to incorporate more volume of the food with less calories. So this is how do we add things that are lower calorie to the foods that are higher calorie, so that way we stay full, but we still enjoy all those delicious things that we like. So for instance, if we like white rice, we can still have the white rice, but instead of doing a full serving of what you may be doing, then we do half of that serving of rice and half of that serving of cauliflower rice. That way we increase that volume, that's still what you're familiar with, but decrease some of those higher calorie foods. Another way is to add zucchini noodles mixed with your pasta, adding mashed cauliflower with your potatoes. Those are ways that we increase the volume without all those calories. Another thing is snacking. So let's say it's your favorite candy. You like to have chocolate in the evenings. And a Hershey's serving is, I think, 7 pieces of Hershey's Kisses. You take your 7 pieces, but obviously that won't fill you. But a cup or 2 of strawberries would fill you. So adding in those that are very low calorie with something that's higher calorie like your chocolate keeps you satisfied without having to eat half the bag of the Kisses. So calorie-dense foods are going to be the things that we want to be mindful of or reduce the volume of. Those are going to be things like fats. So oil, butter, cheese, sour cream, salad dressings, any of those kind of things. We typically say a serving size is about a tablespoon, which is the size of your thumb. And 1 tablespoon of any of those things is roughly 100 calories. So in this picture, you can see that the calories of your oil is 500 calories for 5 tablespoons. Cheese, which is going to be about a cup of cheese, is about 500 calories. A meat portion, depending on the type of meat that you're eating, so if it's a leaner meat, which has less fat to it, you're gonna have anywhere from 6 ounces to 8 ounces of chicken for that calorie amount. Whereas if it's things like steak, it may be closer to about 4 to 5 ounces. So volume wise, and that can change depending on it. The next picture is going to be potatoes, beans, rice, you'll notice that in the stomach, which is depicted, you'll see that the filling volume of that 500 calories is a lot more. And then of course, fruits and vegetables is the last. So we want to incorporate more of the last two items into our meals as much as possible. And when we say in our meals, it doesn't have to be a boring side salad or a boring broccoli as a vegetable. We can incorporate them into our meals and our snacks as well. In my family, we like to mix them into our meals in casseroles and soups and spaghetti sauces and things like that. So that way that same large bowl of pasta still looks the same. It's just that we know the quality of the food that's in there is going to be lower calorie foods. The last thing is being mindful of hunger cues as far as boredom eating. So this is something that we do a lot. It's one of the reasons why we have a lot of overweight issues in our state as well as in our country, is that inactivity, of course, but when stress happens, whether it's emotional eating, boredom eating, stress eating, we tend to think that we need food, or food gives us the positive endorphins that we're missing. And we tend to grab things that aren't so good. So one of the things I want you to be more mindful of is recognizing when you're having one of these boredom stress eating episodes. Try to find the source of where that comes from, and then try to find an activity that gets you away from these feelings. So we usually say 20 minutes, just like it takes to fill your stomach. 20 minutes is the same time frame to tell your stomach and your brain that it's not that you're hungry. So it can be anything from physical activity, or reading a book, or doing a puzzle, or just practicing breathing methods. Just something that gets your mind away from whatever the source may be for your stress. So any of these little tips can make a world of difference, even if you're not hardcore dieting or being very conscious of what you're doing. Just making these small changes can make a world of difference.